What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Livin In Lex, where today we've got a topic that I'm not quite as excited to talk about, but I think it's very important to talk about, and that's 5 downsides to living in Lexington. For those of you that have been watching a lot of my videos, you probably know that I'm very passionate about the city that I grew up in and live in, so it's kind of hard for me to talk about nothing but negatives, but let's be real here. There's no such thing as the perfect city to live in. I'm a Lexington native and local real estate agent, so I've been here for a long time and know a lot of the good, the bad, and the ugly of Lexington. And let's talk a little bit about the bad and the ugly. But first, if you're thinking about making the move here, like I said, I am a local real estate agent and native to the area, so feel free to reach out to me. I've got people reaching out to me every single day looking to move here. I'm answering questions every single day. Absolutely love it whenever you all reach out from the channel. I'll leave my contact information down below. Feel free to text, call, email me at any time with any questions that you may have. Also, be sure to hang around to the end of this video, as I'm going to be throwing in kind of a bonus pet peeve of mine about living in the Lexington and Kentucky area. Let's jump into the 5 downsides of living in Lexington. To start off with my 5 downsides of this video, I'm going to be starting it out with a little bit of a weather related one. Now, I've made a lot of content related to weather in my pros and cons video, in my weather video that I made on my channel, so I'm not going to dive into it too much, but I'm going to say that my least favorite part about the weather here has got to be the humidity. You wouldn't think it, but Lexington is a really, really humid place to live. So even whenever it's 80 or 90 degrees outside, you're just sweating and sweating and sweating versus the dry heats you might get out west. It could be 100 degrees and you might not sweat as much as you would here. Now, that's especially tougher on someone like me who's a little bit on the thicker side, because I just sweat constantly anytime the weather gets warmer. Now, there's other kinds of weather that I could talk about. I've had a lot of clients come in from warmer weather climates and they get here and they feel that it's a little bit cold here, and 50-degree days, which may not be that abnormal in a fall or a spring day here, would be very cold to them, and it gets a little bit colder than that in the winter even. With the humidity too, you've got to really be careful because it can make you sweat a lot. So even whenever it's 70, 80, 90 degrees, which gets towards the hotter side, if you're outside working a lot and sweating a lot, you're going to get dehydrated really quickly, so you want to be sure that you drink plenty of water on those warmer summer, spring, and fall days. Another downside of living in Lexington has got to be the traffic. While Lexington may not be a very large city, sitting at a little over 300,000 people, Lexington wasn't really designed to hold the number of people that are currently here, so we get a little bit of a traffic problem because the roads here aren't made to handle it. Now, I will say the worst roads in Lexington are by far Nicholasville, Man of War, sometimes New Circle Road. Nicholasville Road, you get a situation where all the lanes change depending on the time of the day. Yeah, that makes sense, right? So there's lights that indicate which lanes are going which way depending on the time of the day. Man of War is just a really busy road. And then New Circle is the circle around Lexington. Sometimes they can get pretty busy too. If you want to avoid the bulk of the traffic in Lexington, I've got one big suggestion to you. Living inside of New Circle Road can drastically change your commute to and from work in and out of Lexington. Most of the rush periods of Lexington being the morning and evening, most people are going out of Lexington. They're going to the suburbs where they live at. So if you live inside of New Circle Road, you're probably going against where the bulk of the traffic is going. Inside of New Circle Road has a lot of the well-established neighborhoods that we've talked about in my former videos, but it does come with a little bit heavier price. If you choose to live inside of New Circle Road, you get older homes that are in more established neighborhoods, but the price of them on average can be a little bit higher than some other areas, versus you can get a little bit cheaper going a little outside of Lexington. Truthfully, there's only 2 major periods, like most cities, that traffic gets really bad in Lexington, and that's kind of your 9 o'clock starting period and a little bit before that for work, and then your 5 o'clock traffic in the evening. If you drive around at night or even in the middle of the day, it's pretty easy to get to and from places, but those rush periods can really slow you down. Another downside of living in Lexington has got to be the property prices versus going outside of Lexington a little bit. On average, the property prices in Lexington are a little bit higher than some of the surrounding cities like a Versailles or a Nicholasville or a Georgetown or a Richmond. So a lot of people that work in Lexington choose to live outside of Lexington and commute and take that 30-minute commute to work. Just to give you a little bit of an example of what that might look like, I've got a set of clients right now that are looking to purchase a home within Lexington, a brand new home in a brand new subdivision costing around $800,000. They wanted to look at another home just outside of Lexington in Nicholasville that was about the same home, about the same size. It was pretty new like the other one, had high quality finishes like the other one, and it was even on a bigger lot. It was on an acre lot, and it only cost about $600,000. So basically the same house from Nicholasville to Lexington, there was a $200,000 difference. Now the differences aren't always that extreme from living in Lexington to living outside of Lexington, but even if you save $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 on a home, to some people that's worth it. Another downside of living in Lexington is probably the diversity of the city itself. I'm going to give you some data that I found on World Population Review, then they get all of their data from the US Census. Lexington's population consists of about 74.9% white, 14.51% African American, 3.75% Asian, 3.75% of two or more races, 2.81% of some other races, 0.91% of American Indian and Alaskan Natives, and 0.03% of Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islanders. Now, before you go out and say that Lexington is not a diverse city compared to the other cities of the U.S., let me read some of Kentucky's as a whole demographics to put it in perspective for you. Kentucky is 86.95% white, 8.07% African American, 2.25% two or more races, 1.47% Asian, 0.98% of some other races, 0.21% of American Indian or Alaskan Natives, and 0.07% of a Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander. So when you compare Lexington to the rest of the state, we're actually much more diverse than the Kentucky averages. So while we may lack a little bit of the diversity that some of the larger cities of the US see, I would argue that we don't feel like a city that lacks diversity. I meet very few people around Lexington that have a very strong opinion about where you're from or who you are. We love all kinds of people here. I also will say that there's some truth in some Southern charm. Kentucky does have a little bit of Southern charm to it, and that Southern charm is a very friendly kind of people. Go visit other places and wave to somebody on the streets. They may think you're crazy, but here you could see a complete stranger, wave and smile at them, and it'll make their day completely. And that wouldn't be that uncommon here. The final of the 5 downsides that I have for this video, it has got to be the insects of Kentucky, and more specifically, the ticks and the mosquitoes of the world. During the warm months of the year, we get annoying little insects such as ticks and mosquitoes. If you live near stagnant bodies of water, you're likely to get mosquitoes, as mosquitoes use stagnant water in order to breed. If I can give you any advice, it's to not let any kind of stagnant water build up around your house. If you've got a wheelbarrow, flip it over. Don't let rain fill it up with water, because what's going to happen is those mosquitoes are all going to come to there, they're going to breed, and there's going to be a bunch of mosquitoes in and around your house. Mosquitoes are pretty bad, but you really don't want ticks. I think they're a lot nastier and worse than mosquitoes are even. Ticks will latch onto you, and if they get into you and get their head in you, sometimes whenever you go to pinch them off, their head sticks in you. You got to use tweezers. It's a whole mess whenever you do it. But here's some tips to keep away from ticks. Ticks love trees and grass. So the biggest tips I can give you is if your house is near a whole lot of trees or woods, you're probably going to get some ticks now and then. The biggest piece of advice I can give you is not to let your grass get too long. When your grass gets too long and you don't cut it all the time, ticks get in there, and whenever you walk through the grass, they'll crawl up your legs, they'll jump on you, and then they're going to bite into you. And you may not even feel it whenever they do. So mow your grass. Other than the blood-sucking ticks and mosquitoes, there are other insects here that are pretty annoying. The ones that annoy me the most have got to be stink bugs and ladybugs. When it starts getting cold outside, they find any way that they can to get somewhere where it's warmer, and that place that's warmer, more often than not, is the inside of your house. So you kind of see them everywhere sometimes, especially if they can find a way in. The best way to prevent them from getting in is to seal up any cracks. Don't leave doors and stuff open. They really don't do anything to the inside of your house other than they're just in there and annoying. And also, don't smash a stink bug, because that's not just some random nickname. They actually do kind of stink when you smash them. If you've hung around this long, you're probably wondering what my bonus pet peeve or downside is to living in Lexington, Kentucky, and that is by far gotta be that anytime you tell someone you're from Lexington, Kentucky, they ignore the fact that you said Lexington. They ignore the fact that Lexington is famous for horses, bourbon, basketball, or anything like that. 9 out of 10 people that I've ever met that I've told that I'm from Lexington, Kentucky always go, "Oh, KFC?" That has got to be one of my least favorite responses I get from someone whenever I tell them that I'm from Lexington, especially because I make all this content about how great Lexington is and how famous we are for bourbon, horses, basketball. That's just scratching the surface on some of the things that we're famous for. And they're talking about some fast food joint called Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now, if you like KFC, I'm very sorry, but truthfully, it is not my favorite fried chicken place. Most Kentuckians that I even know don't even really like KFC. There's so many better options like Chick-fil-A, Raising Cane's, Zaxby's. I could keep going. There's a bunch of other good places that you could talk about. Kind of a weird pet peeve of mine, but when you move here and you tell somebody that you're moving to Kentucky, or you tell somebody that you live in Kentucky that's not from the area, tell them that you are and see what they say. I'll bet you at some point you'll run across somebody that just goes, KFC. All this KFC and moving to Kentucky talk brings me to my next point, and that's if you're thinking about making the move here within the next year, 2 years, 60 to 90 days, whatever it be, renting, buying here in Lexington, reach out to me. I really truthfully do love it whenever you all reach out from the channel. I'm going to leave my contact information down below. Feel free to text, call, email me at any time with any questions you may have about Lexington or any help that you may need. Also, if you like the content that my channel's putting out and you want to see more of it, be sure to go below this video and press the subscribe button and the little notification bell so you won't miss another video. While it did break my heart to talk about some of the topics in this video, I am happy to be honest and truthful with you all and bring you genuine content about the Lexington area. So with all that being said, I really do appreciate you watching the 5 Downsides of Lexington, Kentucky. I'll catch you next time.